Hello.
Hello.
Hello. As you can see, the
And just when you
StreamYard
thought
supplied intros are crap.
Oh, yeah, that was even worse than yesterday's.
I know, right? It's depressing, isn't it?
Come on, StreamYard, get a grip.
It's corporate greed. That's what it is, mate. Corporate greed. Because they doubled the price. This thing, right? If they kept it at £15, then I would have paid that no problems. But I'm not paying 33 quid a month.
No.
That's ridiculous. And I'm not giving up having a moderator either, because otherwise I'd never get any work done. Because I'd just be doing the chat holds every stream. So, yeah. But anyway, that's enough whinging. How are you two?
Very, very well. Very
I
well.
not complain. I
Have
not
you got
complain.
Have you got your Y-fronts on too tight or something?
Just trying to sound intelligent.
Oh, you failed. Me and Gary were playing on ChatGPT this morning. We've not told John yet.
We were.
Okay.
Gary was using it to design some dioramas.
Yeah, I asked it for an idea for a diorama for the F-35 that I'm building. And It's given me 5 pages of suggestions, including a shopping list for auxiliary parts, like a ground power unit and crew.
Yeah.
And that just from one question, one line question, I was suitably impressed.
Yeah. And
but
I was
might get something else.
Yes. I was creating poetry about the channel. I was rather ChatGPT was, and I was giving it the prompts. Would you like to hear some?
Well, unless it's in the form of a limerick, it's not real poetry, is it?
Let's see. Which one should we go for? Because we created a few of them. Okay, we'll go for this one. It's called The Veterans of Sprue and Cement. Okay. With apologies to Siegfried Sassoon. In a shed that smelled of glue and pride, the bearded veteran sat, hobby knife beside, with fingers bent by time and tools long gone. He clipped a Spitfire's wing and whistled on. His camo shirt, now flecked with primer grey, still bore the shape of wars filed away. Mike stormed in like Stukas through the air, declaring panzer kits I built a pair. His models bore no rules, just grit and flair, a tiger with neon flares and hair. He'd melt the tracks to add a sense of fear, then spill enamel paint into his beer. Gary, patient, dressed in quiet greens, would file and sand and polish his machines. He'd rivet place with tweezers calm and slow, the cockpit dials aligned in perfect row. He never spoke unless the sprue was wrong, or Marley barked when decals took too long. Waitrose came late, with wine and foil-packed cheese, and said, I bought a B-52 with these, please. He'd sniffed the glue, then wrinkle up his nose, and tried to paint while dressed in Sunday clothes. But in his box were kits of highest class, and he'd pronounced Luftwaffe like a toff in brass. They argued gloss coats, matte and Luft 44. And next one says, in a shed where the glue fumes rise like mist, and every man wears his kits the best on the list. There's cutting and cursing and tea by the pint, and tweezers used wrong, but with excellent might. Mike builds tanks with flamethrowers grace. He'll paint a Bismarck in outer space. Authentic, he asks, with a wink and a cheer as he airbrushes camo while sipping a beer. Gary's precise with a file and a frown, while lining up cockpits with landing gear down. His decals go straight with rivets are real. He's the modelling monk with nerves made of steel. Waitrose appears with a box full of flair and paints in a shirt worth more than his chair. He knows nothing yet, somehow makes gold. His Spitfires has wine where the oil should have rolled. The bearded rep with a glint in his eyes tells stories of kits from days gone by. He's gruff, he's wise, and steady of hand. He's once built a Sherman that actually ran. and Marley the dog just naps it in the mess till someone drops spruce and then he's up to assess. So welcome, dear viewer, come join the brigade where glue marks and our medals and models get made. Subscribe if you fancy and stay for the mates. It's plastic, it's chaos, it's bearded veteran creates.
For some reason,
It kept assuming you're a dog. I don't know.
Marley the dog. It's from that movie, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. But,
Yeah, it came with some good ones.
But anyway, there you go.
Your sound sounds muffled, Gary.
Oh, no, you know what I haven't done?
You've not switched it over. Amateur. What is this, amateur hour?
How now?
Better.
In my best Brian Blessed, Gordon's alive.
Yes. Right. Shall we get on with the chat, old boys?
Are we doing it in the new style or what?
So about 2 weeks ago, I lost an Allen key. I usually keep them this for the pin vise and the little drills. I usually keep it in the pack of drills. I've been looking for it for about 2 weeks. I just found it in one of the packs of drills. Unbelievable. Obviously, I had a boy look and not a girl look.
Well, that was a fun story. That was a fun story.
I was nearly about to buy an Allen key this morning, but I couldn't remember what size it was. I was about to go down to Hammer Barn and see what I could do. Oh, are we doing the rounds with the comments? Your call.
Well, we're trying to. Sorry, I couldn't resist then. Scott Smalls in. He says, "Good evening, everyone." Hello, Scott.
Hello, Scott.
And Bob's in. He says, "Good morrow, all. The plotting has commenced again. For now.
For now.
I said, oh no, it's John.
Oh, it's me. Gary Morris says, G-Day troops.
FML. GM says, "Greetings, purveyors of things multimedia. Bobby, what are you plotting now? A new chart for a navigation or a takeover bid?" Laugh out loud.
Bob says to Gary, "Magic Mikey knows with the possibility of added spiders."
And Gary, the question is, if you were added to the title list, what would your animal be?
Do you need to put your glasses on, John? You seem to be struggling with reading today.
No.
He's got man flu.
Ah.
Yeah, I've got man flu.
We had a discussion with the moderator about it.
GM says, "Bobby, there's a hint or two. Added spiders, is waitress involved? I'm on a list, but is a wanted list an animal? I'm a cat." Laugh out loud. Meow.
GM also said, "Spell checker is really bad today. Waitrose," I said.
There's a waitress involved.
Well, yeah.
Bob says, "Cat is easy. Are you discordant?"
Bob says, "Are in contact with Mr. Marley in reverse."
GM says, "Today's podcast is brought to you by the numbers 15050, that's 15050, and the name Strange Beasts."
It's actually brought to you by 02165.
That's
02165. Because that's the kit number for the big boy.
Is it?
It is.
Funny enough, I thought it was 666, but there you go.
Whinging bastard. Next.
Bob says, "That's the Marley who does things backwards. Painkillers making typing unintelligible."
I thought you were going to say unhinged then.
No.
Oh, Bagpuss tired. GM says, Bobby, I'm non-discordant, and I can, in fact, contact Mr. Marley. I do have a message for him after this appearance on screen.
Ooh.
Oh.
Is it a cease and desist order?
Yeah.
Gary, we're waiting for you.
I thought you followed. Oh, it's me, is it? GM says, Bobby, them painkillers. Thunking wrong name here, dream makers. I'd leave them alone, buddy. Navigation goes haywire when you use them.
Bob says, looks like a certain John might become dispatch central for the Southern Hemisphere, unless Timmer wants the job. Oh.
He also says, I had a bright idea for Rhonda David. To keep grandkids amused, build his Strand Beast and get them to compete at blowing it along. Puff them out. Yeah, that'd work.
And GM says, Bobby, I think I'll activate the escape hatch. This whole mission could go pear-shaped very quickly.
Duke's in. He says, g'day all you beautiful people in Big Boy.
All right, Dukey.
GM says the Chinese Interior Ministry announced a shortage of plastic trees used for making strange beasts. Bobby, you could be on back order. He's wide. They've got a shortage.
Bob says, must have got in under the lower hanging branch. One more on the way, but tracking weird. Oh my God.
Bob says only one more beast due, getting withdrawal symptoms.
GM says, Bobby, the Taiwanese gunboats, they are tracking the shift in plastic activity.
Kevin Trainer's in, says, good day, everyone. Hi, Kevin.
Hey, Kevin.
Gary says, g'day, Kev.
Bob says, they must have ramped up production before the trees ran out. Price just dropped to £7.85. Delivered.
Kev says, hello, Gary.
Duke is, g'day, Kevin.
Bob, Gary, she used to be a popular pin-up in the 60s, that made in Taiwan.
Duke says, good day, Robert.
Joe's in. He says, good morning / afternoon / evening, everyone. Up early this morning watching one of my favourite golf tournaments, the Scottish Open in North Berwick in Scotland. Beautiful course.
It is. It is.
Yeah. Kevin says, hello, Duke.
And Bob says, everywhere at Christmas.
John says, here's Johnny.
And Bob says, all hail the Duke.
Joe says, played there several years ago while visiting Scotland. Awesome place.
Bob's crashing of axe through door.
John says, Bob, I think it escaped from New York when I hear the Duke.
Robert says, not John Wayne, John, a near namesake. John Wayne.
And John is asking, are John Carpenter movies popular in the UK? Well, they've heard of them. The Thing, that sort of thing, that sort of thing.
Right, yeah. GM says, Bobby, the plastic is coming from Canada now. They have a surplus. She has a sister, Iron Maiden. Laugh out loud.
Duke says, good day, John and Joe.
John said, fair dinkum, Duke. I remember hearing an Australian friend saying that to me.
Bob says, ooh, wouldn't like to try blowing an iron beast.
Bob says,
very short mouth.
Bob says, JT, some wood butcher films are popular, some not.
John says, one actor you can't not be in awe of, Jimmy Stewart. I like the film where he flew the Convair B-36 Peacemaker.
Yes, excellent film. Of course, he actually flew a B-52 sortie over Vietnam as a brigadier general.
Yeah.
In real life, he was a brigadier general.
John says, hearing Benji barking.
Yeah, well, he has to let us know he's here.
He is.
Oh, sorry, it's me. Joe says, watching Scotty Scheffler, Scotland's own Bob McIntyre, and my two favourite Australian, Adam Scott. My second favourite Australian, Adam Scott. There you go. Sorry, I'm trying to paint as well.
Yeah, his first is Duke.
I don't know who Adam Scott is. Anyway, moving on. Matt Mick says your lambic pen. He's what?
He's a golfer.
What's that?
It's where they hit a ball with a stick. They just roll it around the grass over a long distance.
Right. Okay. Matt Mick says your lambic pentameter was flawless. Emoji smile. Great poem, Mikey.
Thank you. ChatGPT wrote it very well.
Yeah.
John says, I love the Seekers. Judith Durham had an amazing voice.
She did.
I could sing now, but I'm not allowed. Hobby Time's in, says, hey guys. Hello, Hobby Time.
Gary's in saying, afternoon, chaps. See, nothing much has changed here.
No, same old
Jim says, hello to all the usual suspects in chat.
And Hobby Time says, hi, Jim.
Tiff, I take offence to that girl look thing. I always look thoroughly for something I've lost. Well, we don't, clearly. Took me 2 weeks. Well, that's 4. That's how stupid men are. It's 2 weeks.
Oh, dear.
Get on.
Jim says, hello, Hobby Time.
And Jim also says, greetings to all on screen. Greetings, Jim. Wouldn't be a show without you being in there.
No, sir.
Tiff says, hello all. Don't forget the thumbs up button. Thank you.
Yeah, lube and subscribe.
John says, at least the shuttle number wasn't XR3000 like in Airplane 2. Laugh out loud, a bumper bracket for the Ford Pinto.
And Jim says he once put in a request for a vanity license plate for his motor car. However, I was told NE1469 is not acceptable.
Oh, what a shame.
NE1468 was, but they'd owe you one.
Tiff's saying, hello, Waitrose. How was your trip?
Yes.
Ian's laughing at Jim and says, morning. Hello, Ian.
And Bob says, golf, a good walk ruined. I spent many happy hours when I could playing golf.
Paul Price is in saying, evening all.
Evening, Paul.
Evening, Paul.
Chloe's in. She says, hey, Queens. Hello, daughter.
Oh, hello. Hello, Chloe.
She actually woke up in the AM today. She did well.
I've heard a lot about you, Chloe.
Uh-oh.
Keeping your old dad up into the wee small hours, chatting.
Hey, it's worth it. It's fun. We have a lot of laughs.
Nice to see you on here, Chloe.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
Gary, are you going to read your bit out?
no, what if you and I just finish off the last couple?
Okay, go on.
So Jim says, at Joe, the British Open, I forgot about that. My favourite of the PGA majors.
Jim says, greetings, Ian Ellison.
Tiff says, hello, Chloe.
Chloe says, hi, Tiff, with a smile.
Waitrose, Gary says, hi, at Tiff, lovely, thank you. Ceremony was in the cathedral. Very nice.
Yes. Hobby Time says, hi, Paul. I've got to say, though, Gary, wearing a suit with a pocket watch and things really doesn't help to dispel the myth about you being a Waitrose.
Well,
but you did look very dapper. He did look very dapper.
He did.
Yeah.
He even combed his hair.
Paul is saying, hi, Gordon.
Jim says, hello, Paul.
Paul is saying, hi, Jim.
Tiff says, it's such a beautiful building, isn't it, Gary?
John is asking, do you save instructions for future reference or do they go in the bin or fireplace? Typically, I throw them out. I have a pile over there.
I wonder why you were sitting awkwardly.
I can't explain why, but
I have
we
a
go back
folder
a
of
couple of
mine.
years. Yeah.
Jim says, hello, Mr. Evans.
Joe is saying, Jim, the Open, it's next week. Scottish Open this week.
Yeah.
Waitrose says, I care not for your sartorial remarks. I liked it.
Very good.
Smart.
Yes, the Open is at Port Rush this year in Northern Ireland.
But I don't know if Gary missed it, because that was only I was doing getting ChatGPT to write some poems about the channel. I read 2 of them out, and they were the ones that were more kind to Gary about being posh. Let's see. Since this is Bearded Veteran Creates, not just Bearded Veteran does modelling. Yeah.
Jim says, thanks, Joe. To me, it'll always be the British Open. Oh, no.
Okay, so I like this one. It's called Bearded Veteran Crates, a workshop elegy after Siegfried Sassoon. In that low shed where light slants in like smoke, the bearded veteran hands calloused spoke. Not much, but firm, like someone used to noise that doesn't end like silence left by boys. Who didn't make it home, his tools were neat, each spanner placed like medals at his feet. Mike was the dreamer, wild with schemes and flame, a welder king who cursed things all the same. He'd take a blowtorch with laws of man and solder bits together just because he can. Safety first, he laughed, in goggles cracked, then lit the forge while common sense stepped back. Gary, calm and craftsman born of tea, spoke only when he had to quietly. His planes sang hymns across the oaken grain, while Marley slept when woke to bark again. Unmoved he'd turn, and with careful stroke, restore a shattered chair, a joint that broke. Waitrose arrived in jackets far too clean, with sandwiches and wine from 17. He'd film their nonsense, flinch at every screw, yet sound sawdust, something oddly true. He'd grumble, this is chaos, not design, then toast their work by sipping vintage wine. And so they made a desk, a chair, a gate, no sponsor cuts, no algorithm bait. The bearded veterans, with ghost behind the stare, built more than shelves, he built repair. With every nail that Gary placed tight, with Mike's explosions blazing through the night, with Waitrose pouring Shiraz on the floor, he forged a piece he hadn't known before. There we go. I
Not
like
bad.
it. Yeah. And Gary says he heard the latter one. Well, now he just heard another one.
Yeah.
Waitrose says, by the way, chaps, the Open Championship, we don't specify British, it's just understood. There we go.
Yeah. All right. So,
Crack on with painting now. Now we've done that.
So
Chaos.
my plan is to continue. Well, the train's pretty much done. I need to put decals on that, but I won't do that today. So my plan is to paint the rails and start weathering the track. So that's what I'm going for. Is just a picture I got on the interwebs. So just
so
the
sort of train
sort of section.
track-looking things.
That
Oh,
tracks.
that's the same one I used.
Is it?
That's the same image I looked at to get an idea.
Well,
What are the odds? All right. All right. And Jim says he grew up with the name the British Open, and that's how it'll be with me. Well, it's exactly the same for me, Jim. Crack on.
Yes. Well, we are British, so we just call it the Open.
But it was a Scotsman that invented the game.
Yes.
Credit where credit's due.
Yes. So does that mean the American Open is actually called the Colonies Open?
No, it's
The Traitors.
it's the US Open, isn't it?
You sure it's not the Traitors Open?
Ooh. Thought we didn't do politics on here.
We didn't.
Well, not
We're
well.
doing history. We're doing history. Since we just had July the 4th.
But out of the 4 majors, America has 3 of them.
Yeah. Whereas we have more admirals than ships. Matt says Northern Ireland is part of the UK, not part of Great Britain, technically. Correct. It's Great Britain and Northern Ireland, which make up the United Kingdom.
All right. Picky.
Great Britain is the landmass. John says, I was thinking last night that you could put the locomotives on a nice base with fibre optics, number boards, headlights, and marker lights. Maybe even a fire in the box with some smoke generators. That sounds awfully complicated. But I do like the idea of putting lights on it.
Maybe a few years down the line when skills have improved.
Down the line. I like that.
Did you see what I did there?
What I could do is, at some point, is when I make a base for it, put some LEDs in between the track ties, the sleepers, pointing up so the underneath of the train's lit up. Because I can do that. Like that.
But Mr. Childs will have a fit because you'll have to paint the underneath of the train.
The underneath of my train's painted.
So is mine.
Yeah. That's why he doesn't watch, because it's too much stress for him to have.
He has to go into therapy after every episode when we paint the underside of a...
Yeah. He's too traumatized by our insanity.
Insanity!
Ian says, ChatGPT assumes Marley is a dog. Ha!
Yeah, not just once.
Oh, it did it with everyone until I specified.
Until we had to tell it that Marley is a human being.
Yeah.
And then it questioned that.
Yeah. Although, to be fair, so do we. Gino says, hello, everyone. Hello, Gino.
Hi, Gino.
Hello. Welcome back.
I think I'd have been better off airbrushing these tracks and then doing that detail work afterwards, but never mind.
Yeah, I think whichever way you do it is going to be annoying.
Now, I need some advice from our wonderful viewers and members of the team and what have you. I'm considering changing my paints. I'm considering going, because at the moment I've still got a few Tamiya sets, but I also use AK Real Colors. But I am seriously considering moving across to Vallejo Model Air and their other versions. So I would like, chat, your opinions on Vallejo Model Air and the other Model Color and all the other things they do.
I use them. I only use Vallejo and AK Real Colors. So do it. Is my opinion. Not that you have to follow my opinion, but you are on my channel.
Well, they're a bit cheaper as well, the Vallejos.
Yeah. And they can, especially the Model Airs in the model game, I don't particularly have to thin them down either.
Well, at the moment, I'm brush painting this track with Vallejo Model Air. And it brush paints really nice.
It does. They're great for for figure painting as well. Let's move this light over here a little bit. Oh, is my camera back to front again? I think it is.
Yes, it is.
Oops. There we go.
But I'd just like to know from the wider audience their opinion on Vallejo.
Well, they have expressed such opinion. Modders, would you do the honours kindly? Phil says, afternoon, everyone. Hope the trains are steaming on. They are indeed.
Yeah, we're on track.
Hey.
Bob says, damn it, Dexy's Midnight Runners earworming again.
It does it to me every time. Every time Gino's in, I've got Dex's Midnight Runners in my head.
I just think of Gino D'Acampo.
No, I think of Gino from Dexter's Metal Wings.
Gino, John yesterday was showing me some photos of his dad and that when they were in the army. They look very smart. John says, the other criticism of the kit is not just the handrails, but the whole valve gear as an assembly. Someone had made a running model of this kit. Bowser sold a pickup for the tender. Nice. John says, Bob, come on, Eileen. Tiff says, I do like Vallejo paints. Very pigmented, and they last ages. They do. Jim says, personally, I would say I would smear and AK real colours for airbrushing. I use both AK 3rd Gen and both Vallejo model colours and Model Air for brush painting. See, I use Vallejo for all of them, to be honest.
Yes, but if you look at it...
I've never got on with smear paints.
No, the colour range isn't good enough for me.
Well, that's why AK comes in, isn't it?
It's too limiting.
I'm eating a pie again.
Would you like a piece of pie, my lord?
This is pork and pickle.
Yes,
you
Nancy.
don't see. This is in danger of going down the pineapple route now. You have a pork pie with pickle, but you don't have a pork and pickle pie.
I didn't know the news. Kieran says, afternoon, everyone. Hello, Kieran.
Hi, Kieran.
Lovely person, you.
Oh, God, it's in my head.
Bob says, John, yep, but for some reason, Gino seems to be a line in it.
Yeah.
Duke says, I love Vallejo paints. Phil says, I mostly use Vallejo Model Air for airbrush and brush. Same here. John says, I think the US Army olive drab was my grandfather's colour. Thought you guys would have mentioned Men at Work. John might have, because he's Australian.
No, they just handed me a Vegemite sandwich.
Oh, you come from a land down under. Well, I was actually watching a bit of Colin Hay earlier today. Like, he played a role as, I think, a wandering minstrel on Scrubs, the TV show. So I was watching a little bit of that on YouTube.
Oh, now that you mentioned Scrubs, I know who you're talking about. I didn't have a clue who you were talking about before.
Really?
Yep.
Huh. Okay. So he's only in a couple of episodes, though.
Yeah, but I remember because he was the one that was when JD was like hallucinating all the time, wasn't
he? Yeah.
Every time someone says Scrubs, I think of TLC.
Yeah.
You think of bed baths and nurses.
No.
Yeah, you do, you dirty old man.
The group, TLC, no Scrubs.
Ah. Tiff says, I love pork and pickle pies.
No, it's so wrong.
She's such an old man. An old fuddy-duddy.
Kieran says, my preference is AK 3rd Gen, but I also have a lot of Vallejo, and I like them too. Never got on well with Tamiya paints myself.
No, I must admit, I think, like most people, when I came back to modelling, I started on Tamiya, and I got quite an extensive collection of Tamiya, which is now about the same size as my real colours collection, but I have inherited quite a few Model Air that I've never used.
Use them.
I'm thinking of going over to Model Air because, for a start, you get 17 mils, and I know you get, is it 17 in the new AK bottle?
Yeah.
I think it's 17 in the new AK bottle, but it works out cheaper.
18 mil.
I think it even still works out cheaper.
Yeah.
And it doesn't smell.
So John says, Tiff, that sounds interesting.
Yes.
Jim says, Tamiya Lacquers, Mr. Color, AK Real Colors, SMS, Skull Model Supply. Outlaw paints are all the paints I use for airbrushing. Great color range, easy to use, spray very well, great results every time. Yeah.
Super.
John says Akadaka and NXS are also favourites of his as well. Yeah.
So blonde.
And Gary says, a loud cheer from reception, John. Oh, your letter with the Mirage 3.0 or 3E/O serials arrived. Many thanks. Priority post from SBS TV Sydney arrived a few hours ago. Building the kit commencing. Great to hear, Gary. I'm glad you got them. And anything else you need, let us know. I'll do what I can to ignore. And Waitrose says he's using Vallejo less and less and increasingly using ICM, Atom by MIG, or lacquers. I use whatever is available. I've got a pretty good range of. In fact, I'll show you. Let's move the camera.
Waitrose, that shopping list does nothing to deter from calling you Waitrose, by the way. Using Atom and MIG lacquers. Sounds posh.
So that little bit there, they're the Vallejo Model Air. Around the corner is a Vallejo Model Color. And then we go to, well, look, I'll tell you what, let's go all the way over to the drawers. God, I don't know if you could see.
To another time zone.
No, well, maybe if I, let's see. Humbrol, I've got, oh my God, what have we got? These are the AK Extreme Metals, AK paints there. I've got a little bit of a mix there. Second drawer down. All these are all the SMS paints. Tamiya in the middle.
Shout out to the granny slippers.
Mr. Hobby over there. Well, it's winter. They're mockies with socks. Monopoly socks.
Yeah.
Fuck you. Yeah, so that, I use whatever is, whether it's on hand, whether I like the color. But generally I use Vallejo all for interiors and things that don't erode much. I tend to use lacquers or... no, it's not necessarily true. I'm loving... lately, I'm loving Gun's Sangyo, which is the Mr. Hobby, Mr. Color range of paints.
Yeah.
They do a really good range. And of course, SMS. Depends what's available.
About 2 or 3 years ago, I jumped on the lacquer boat, but I'm increasingly thinking it's not good for me. So,
I don't think it's good for anyone. It rots your brain.
Alrighty. So, Dark Earth, Vallejo Model Air. So most of the time you see me reaching for paint. Most of the time it's Vallejo stuff. Because you hear that all the time. I'm going to make a little bit of a wash with this, I think. And then try a bit of rust later on. See how that goes.
in response to what Waitrose was saying about ICM, isn't there, and forgive me if I'm wrong, and I apologise if I'm wrong, isn't their paint range a little limited though at the moment?
Yes. They're limiting it to sets, aren't they? To do with certain model kits. Right.
I sort of get that, but...
And they're not designed for multiple use either. They're designed for like doing one model kit and then that's it.
Well, they're going to expand over time, I'd imagine. Like all good ranges of
paint.
I
would think so.
Yeah. I think they're just testing the waters at the minute, aren't they? Seeing how they do. Which is understandable. Given that they're living in a war zone and things.
Oh, there's that, yeah.
John says, my next idea if I make a mistake on a model, other than hiding the bad side, is making a wrecked version of it. Yeah. or do like I do and just put it on a shelf of shame.
Well, we were talking, funnily enough, on our WhatsApp group regarding these models that we got given. You know, the ones we can't repair, we're considering doing dios with them.
Yeah, that makes sense. Bob says, paint available locally at Humbug and Samir. If I want others, it's mail order.
Yeah. My view with paints is get what you can get locally, really. It's the best advice, I think.
We can't get anything locally,
cheaper.
so I just order what I want.
SMS, if they didn't stock it locally, it's like $10 per delivery, regardless whether you order 1 or 100.
Yeah, one thing I do know that unless I go to Hobbycraft and get completely mugged, I can go to Questing Nights in Wellington, which is a D&D stuff and all that, or Glasshouse Gaming near me, and they sell Vallejo paints, so I can get them locally.
Yeah. Jim says, I thin both types of smear paints with lacquer thinner. Works great every time. Super.
Super.
Super-duper. John says, John, it's hot here outside of the baked apple. Was 102 degrees Fahrenheit here a couple of days ago. I don't know what that is. What's 102 degrees Fahrenheit, John?
It's close to 40 degrees.
Ah, there we go.
It's probably, just on 40 degrees. I think. So where are we now? It's saying 7.4. But, oh, God, it was so windy today.
25 degrees here at the moment.
You shouldn't have had that curry for your tea, then.
Well, how did you know? We had Rogan Josh.
Yeah.
Well, I do love me a nice lamb Rogan Josh.
Kay likes lamb Rogan Josh.
Oh.
Jim says, respirator use for airbrushing is just good common sense, be it lacquer, enamel, or water-based. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That German bomber guy, one they nicknamed Scrooge McDuck, he that's what caused his problems, mental health problems, because he worked in a car spraying garage because he was a genius, basically. And he worked in a car spraying garage, but his boss didn't supply him with respirators and air-fed masks. So he was just constantly inhaling lacquer paint all the time, and it just rotted his head, and he just got bored because he couldn't feel happiness or anything anymore. And he just decided to start making bombs just for a bit of excitement.
Feed the dog?
No, I put it down. He's not interested.
Right.
What? Did you say you put? Did you feed the dog? No, I put it down.
It's put the food down for the dog, but he's not interested because it's hot today.
Oh, I see.
So
I was concerned.
I'll have to go.
He got bored with feeding the dog, so she just put it down.
Yeah, just
took it out in the garden and blew its head off.
did everyone a favour.
Oh, well,
Obviously, Marion didn't actually do that.
Save me getting up in the morning.
Yeah. Kieran says, I agree, Jim. I always use on whatever paint I'm using.
Oh, yeah. Safety is not a dirty word.
See, I don't, but that's because respirators are kind of pointless when you have a beard.
Moist is a dirty word, but
if it's bad, I put timer bandana around my face just so that it filters some of it out.
I know what Duke's thinking. Duke's going to come back with a comment shortly, just saying there's a certain word is not a dirty word. Let's see if he picks up on that.
Jim says you are a wise man, Kieran. He's a lovely man, is Kieran. Gino says I have Tamira model color, an AK 3rd gen, and have a couple of life colors.
yeah, I've got some AK 3rd gen. They're nice.
Yeah, that's what I'm using right now. 3rd gen graphite, which actually works quite well for rocks. TBG says hi everyone. Hi TBG.
Hello, mate.
Bob says punitive postage puts paid to pics. There we go. Gino says, and they work fine for me. Good.
Right. Enjoy.
Tiff says it's 38 degrees. There we go.
Oh, there we go.
We can always rely on modders.
It's beavering away in the background there.
Yeah. John says, forgot you guys use metric. Yes, we do. So does the rest of the world. It's only America that doesn't.
And another country, some other literal backwater in Africa with
Tanzania or something.
No, it's worse than that. It's
And apologies to our Tanzanian viewers. We're not saying
Tanzania.
Maybe it's less so today.
is a backwater. Well, John is.
Yes, I am.
Bulawayo. My granddad used to work in Bulawayo. He was the first
is that a brothel?
No, it's a place. He was the first person on scene at the Bulawayo mining disaster. Apparently, it was very gnarly.
Did he cause it?
No.
Well, why was he first on the scene then?
Because him and his friend, they were fitters on the mine, and they were out in the jungle inspecting the air vents, and all they heard was a rumble underground, and then next minute they saw the air vents in sequence come up with like puffs of clouds of smoke come out of them. So they jumped in the Land Rover and drove as fast as he could back to the mine, and they found the guard just randomly dead in the guardhouse. So that he started going into the mines, and as they were getting further and further into the mines, pulling the bodies out, the bodies were getting more and more burnt to the point where they were basically just cremated. So yeah, there was a gas explosion in the mine.
That'll do it.
Another cheerful episode of Bearded Veteran Creates.
Yeah. Jim says, John, where are you located, John? Well, he said the baked apple, so I'm imagining New York. Tiff says, I make a mean homemade Rogan Josh.
Very good.
I knew you were my kind of woman.
Ooh, Alex Johnson says, evening, everyone. Hello, Alex.
Hello, Alex. Hi, love.
Scott says, well, it's 6 degrees C here. It's 24 here, I believe.
25 here.
What's it saying?
No.
It's
Oh, yeah, 25. It's gone up. So that's the rocks on that one painted. Ish. Next. John says, Jim, outside of New York City. There you go. I was right. Yay.
New York, so good they named it twice.
Yes.
Boutros Ghali.
Okay. Jim says, John, hello, my fellow countrymen. See, we're bringing people together across the nations.
Oh,
It's nice, isn't it?
All the sanctuary states. That's lovely.
Yeah. And we've even brought 3 heathens together.
Julian's
now, well, no, but they all meet up now and share heathen breakfasts and heathen stories. Yeah, David went to Bob's and he's met with Julian.
Oh, what a positive.
I know, right? How cool is that? We're having a positive effect in the world.
Yeah, that's it.
Bringing people together.
That's really good, that is. Oh,
yeah.
Light on again.
Oh, we were discussing, was it yesterday, Gary?
Oh, God.
For the fundraiser for later this year.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, we'll be doing that later again this year after Telford. Doing the Tools for Model for Heroes fundraiser. Maybe this year, because we've got time to plan it, because it was just spur of the moment thing last year, and we did really well. So maybe this year, maybe think of something we can do to sort of encourage people. I don't know.
I am not sure where you're going with this.
Neither am I. Or maybe like a special group build or something.
All right.
is what I'm saying. Don't worry, I'm not thinking of doing like a 48-hour build because that's skipping this thing.
And that is too bloody much like hard work.
Yes, it is. Yeah, I'm thinking maybe a special group build or something. Or a competition or something like that. Who knows?
Post-Telford group build.
Yeah. Scott says, forested lots of snow in 4 states. Ooh. John says, hello, Jim. Not the only Yank on here. No, there's a few of us.
Yeah, there's
We're quite
a few.
popular in America and Australia, aren't we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
People in the UK hate us.
Yeah.
Jim says at Scott's Models, hello, Scott. How are things in Tasmania? I'll run through the credits, Mike, if you don't mind.
Well, if you want to, feel
Duke
free,
says,
mate.
Marion, my dog just got used to not eating when it went and died on me. Oh, okay. Let's do it. Very good. So, so Duke's come back and confirmed that ego is not a dirty word. That's lyrics from Skyhawks, a band in the 70s, an Australian band. John says, Jim, Chicago heat is brutal. I went there for an outdoor wedding with no aircon. And Bob says, isn't Albania imperial still?
Possibly.
I don't know.
But they don't have much of an empire.
Jim says, John, yes, John, the Midwest is a region of extreme weather, both winter and summer.
But some of the scenery is unbelievable.
TBG is, oh yeah, it really is. TBG is saying, Mum's carer is complaining that it's hot and she's from Zimbabwe. Oh dear. How quickly they get used to it. John says, Jim, memories lasted longer than the marriage. My wife and I went to McDonald's. Vegan wedding. What can I say? I love to cook and bake, says Tiff. Waitrose is saying it's 33 degrees outside here. I take it you're back home. John says, we have a lot of worms in the Big Apple. Oh, dear. Bob is saying everyone knows where the Big Apple is, but does anybody know
where Minneapolis?
Where Minneapolis is? Is that a question?
That might be the case. You have a lot of worms in the Big Apple, but you've got Olivia Benson.
Oh, Gary says, g'day me. My Kinetic F-18 serial number is 82157, your old CO Woody's aircraft. These extra serial numbers will allow me to use my number A21-8. I knew Woody well. He's a funny bugger. Yes, he is. He's a hell of a nice guy.
Unlike John.
Yeah, well, yeah. My Waitrose is saying, Bob, no, Albania is all metric. You'd know because you've been there and drank the raki, or I think that's it. Tiff is saying she's part heathen.
Yeah.
Left or right side, I don't know. Bob saying, Gary Drat, wrong again. Jim saying, Bob, Minneapolis is in Minnesota. Now, John says, we were talking about the B-17 yesterday. There was a crash site in my old Boy Scout camp, Camp Nobi Bosco. Nobi Bosco. Crashed in 1944 and 12 airmen died. Tiff is saying it's 24 degrees up in Durham. That's pretty warm for that far north. Yeah. Gary says, John DeCrypney, Woody, Darcy, Dugan, and me. That's 4 musketeers, a bane of 3 squadron, according to Air Vice Marshal Dave Rogers. Yeah, right. TBG is a hail Benji, Lord Barkicus.
Yeah.
Joe's saying Minnesota. Minnesota. You
That's
know,
what we
saying
need.
I mostly use acrylic paints because I have to spray in the living room until I have a hobby room ready because lacquer paints are smelly for my wife's liking. Yes, they are.
That's what we need, a model of Benji to go with that with our characters.
John is saying, Gary, I love Mariska
Haggerty.
Haggerty,
Yeah.
Haggerty and Kelly Gadish. They're two
And
brands of
if you
paint, are
know-
they? I don't know.
Mariska is the daughter of Jane Mansfield.
Oh,
And if you look at pictures of them, obviously Jane Mansfield died when Mariska was 4 years old. But you look at pictures of her now and her mother in her prime, their facial features are exactly the same.
yeah. It's like if you look at my head and my twin brother's ass, exactly the same.
Well, they
Tiff
did
is
come out
saying-
the same
You look
direction.
at your head and anybody's arse, it's the same.
Tiff is saying I'm a heathen on my mum's side. Bob saying, at Jim, sorry, bad joke. Painkillers make it sound like mini apple is. Oh, fair enough. I see.
Wow, you
TPG,
didn't get
33 degrees. Have you allowed the gardener to go topless, Waitrose? I don't think he
If
cares
she
enough
wants
about the
to.
I think you missed Bob's joke. Big apple is versus mini apple is. See what he did there? Yeah. He explained it. Thanks, Gary. But no, we all missed it.
How are me and Gary the only people that got that?
What?
Because, I don't know. What can I say? What can I say? I have no idea. Oh, John, Nobi Bosco was the first Camp Crystal Lake of Friday the 13th series. There you go. No, I haven't seen that since I was a boy. Back in my prime, when I had black and white hair.
What?
Well, you know, I was going grey around the ears, like, you know, well, Mad Max and Beyond Thunderdome, from probably about the age of 15.
More like
Jim
a
is saying,
crusty old
at Bob,
badger.
now, I
I
like a
just point
silverback.
out, we've got 23 people watching, but we've only got 11 likes. Don't forget to leave and subscribe, people.
Come on, leave and subscribe, guys.
Gad. Oh, yeah. Jim saying, Bob, now I get it right. Obviously, I need more coffee. He probably said it that way.
Coffee.
Coffee.
Coffee. Oh, in my
John is
bagel.
saying, Nobi Bosco, North Bergen Boy Scouts. Okay. There you go.
No, you're a scouty type person, John. You should have known that.
Well, no, American Scouts are very, very different to, you know, British, well, Scouts anywhere else, like everything else. Duke saying, don't you believe what you've seen and what you've heard? These are lyrics from the Skyhook song, Ego is Not a Dirty Word. John is saying, it's the sub-Scrooges. It's the sub-Scrooges out there, the bastards.
Yeah.
With
I
Marley
agree.
and Marley. Ooh.
What?
Oh, you know, from A Muppet Christmas Carol.
Never
Oh,
watched it.
right. Yeah, gotcha.
Jim saying, Mikey, I think your most outstanding characteristic is your modesty. Not.
I think I'm quite modest.
Quite
I certainly
modest.
don't-
He's an
certainly don't
Eagle
think I'm
Scout.
bragging.
Very well. Congratulations. I'm thrilled to hear that. Oh, I was a scout leader for 10 years in 3 states.
I left the Scouts after 2 years and went to the Air Cadets.
Yeah.
Joe saying, who's also from the US, by the way, John. Joe saying, I've done planes, tanks, figures, and motorcycles, and I guess I need to find me a locomotive now. Are you all enjoying it?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Gary's just a whinging old
It's
bastard.
going together well. However, it doesn't get much more exciting than a big long black thing, if that makes sense. So it's not. You know, it's nice enough.
You'll make modders blush. Stop.
Yeah, but you know what I mean. It just seems
Well,
to be.
I've got
If it was
something
more
to say
colourful,
there.
I'd like it a bit more. I think, but I am enjoying the process. So I've not built a Revell kit for decades, quite frankly. So I am enjoying it in that regard.
Yes. But we do. Me and John do have some DAPOL trains and stuff to do in the future as well.
Do yeah, no, I happily do that. I've got
Some British
City
ones.
of Oh, look, I made a list of what they have at Frontline. Would you like to hear it,
Go for it.
Mikey?
What, the whole shop?
Well, I just went through there. They've got a couple of bins of Dapol trains, and they've got lots of things like, all of the accoutrement. They've got railway crossings and water tanks and all that stuff. But the trains that they've got, the Drury Shunter, British Railroad West Region Prairie Tank
that Shunter
262
is a lovely little model.
Right. So I got a Prairie Tank 262, which looks like something out of Thomas the Tank Engine. They got the Deltic, the Evening Star, and in the schools class, they've got the Rugby, Harrow, Shrewsbury, and Wimbledon.
Yeah.
So there's a bit of choice there.
Yeah.
Oh, Waitrose could do the Harrow one.
Yeah. If he wants to do a train, that is.
Because that's where his model club is, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. So it is. And, it's a posh public school.
Is that? I'm trying to think of the Monty Python thing. Is that where, when they're designing the abattoir? No, Hendon. He nearly got in at Hendon. No, I've got it wrong. Sorry, my mistake.
Hendon was the police college.
No, he's trying to join the Masonic temple there.
Oh, right.
Okay. Bob said, off to check the printer.
Ah.
That's getting warm in here.
John says, great way to keep on track. Yeah.
Yeah.
Loving the puns. Joe says, whoa, John. John says, laugh out loud, Joe. Tiff says, takes a lot to make me blush, Mikey. Ooh, sounds like a challenge.
I was about to say, challenge accepted.
George says, good afternoon all. Hello, George.
Hi, George.
How are you doing, buddy? TBG says, John, like a big black thing. Oh, dear. John says, Joe, did you go to the Museum of Science and Industry? Love that place. Paul says, had tea filled and later had to use my nitro spell. Woo! How is your wife doing now, Paul, by the way? Is she recovering?
Yeah, I hope she's better.
Yes. I do hope she is feeling better.
Waitrose says, I drive through Harrow School to get to my model club, don't you know? There we go.
Drive through the school?
Yes, he drives down the corridors are that wide.
And there they are in double maths, and you come steaming past in your Rolls Royce.
Yeah.
Well, when he says drives, he gets driven, I'd imagine.
Well, yeah.
Yes, it is in his Silver Phantom.
Or his Bentley.
Yeah. Joe says, John, I volunteer every Sunday morning at the National World War II Museum in New Orleans. I love it. Cool.
Well done, sir.
Very cool.
If I lived closer, I'd volunteer at the Tank Museum. Because that'd just be cool. Or, yeah, Tank Museum, Bovington. But I'd ask to work in the World War I department. Right.
I'm going to volunteer, but on my terms.
Yes. But the reason I say that is because they do actually have a department that's just World War I trucks and things.
Yeah.
And most of them are in the workshops in the back. And I'd love to have a look around them and things. John says, cool, Joe. Bob says, back 1 hour to finish Fox's ears. John says, you should do a Benny Hill chase at the end. He made me laugh with all the sight gags, and you had to listen to his songs. Yeah. Although they are trying to get it banned now because apparently it's problematic.
Oh, for God's sake.
Yeah.
Because they're weak and thin-skinned. GM says, I use enamels, matte, satin, and gloss. Hardware stores can make any colour you want up to 1 litre. Not a fan of water-based paints. I know they are improving. Yeah.
I'm not a fan of enamels at all.
No. Waitrose says, Joe, couldn't make it midweek, could you? Going to be in New Orleans Monday to Thursday in June next year. Ooh. Holidaying again, are we? Are you taking another cruise? Maybe on the Queen Mary or something?
Well, if he is, it's going to be a riverboat cruise, isn't it? Because that's what they have in New Orleans. He's just done one of them.
Oh, it's going to be a paddle steamer then, isn't it?
Yeah. He'll be there with his, in all his gambling finery, with his
white suit and things.
and
Standing
cane,
on the back of the paddle steamer singing Old Man River.
looking like an oversized boss hog.
Oversized vertically, not widthways. We're not saying you're rotund or anything, Gary. We're saying you're tall.
No, I wasn't saying that, Gary, at all. And I'm sure if Mikey hadn't mentioned it, you wouldn't have thought I said that.
Hey, you said oversized.
Yeah, as in tall.
Yeah. I explained for the people. You insulted one of our presenters. One of our friends of the channel.
Don't listen to him, Gary. You're an Adonis.
I wouldn't dream of it.
Paul says, she is slowly but still having rotten headaches. Thanks for asking. No problems, buddy.
No problems, bud.
Get well soon, Mrs. Tanker. Joe says, Gary, when it gets closer, let me know. Jim says, GM, still use enamels, mostly Model Master paints. Use them for brush painting primarily. You're right, Gary.
Yeah.
Don't die on us.
No, I won't.
John says, yeah, do it after the stream, dude. John says, John says, tracks look great. I used real ballast for one model I did. Yeah, I normally would. I've got some which I've knocked over, actually. Hang on.
I'm using this stuff. This is a dirty down rust, a water-soluble paint, and it's literally a rust sort of tone. So going over the sides of the track, it's looking sort of rusty. It's glossy, but then I'll hit it with a matte later on. And
can I just apologise because I haven't changed my camera? I do apologise.
Yeah, we've been looking at the back of your shiny head all day. That was a weird face for it to freeze on. Gary says, yes, doing the paddle steamer from Memphis to New Orleans. Mint tulip in hand, y'all.
And I hope you're going to Graceland as well.
Yeah.
Memphis, Tennessee. I've been there.
I haven't.
John says, Gary, I'm tall. I'm 6'9".
Wow.
Someone to make Le Grand Fromage look small.
I'm going to say Malcolm Charles look small. He's 6'7".
The Big Apple's Big Apple.
Yeah. John says, all good-natured humour. Absolutely. GM says, Joe, yes, Model Master are very accurate colours. They are formulated for airbrushing, dry too quick on a brush for me. There we go. Jim says, wait, Rose, prepare for the heat and humidity of the deep south in June. Yes, and listen out for the banjos.
Yeah, if you hear
you know you've taken the wrong turn.
Yeah.
Joe says, Steve Martin.
Squeal, piggy, squeal.
Joe says, heat in New Orleans. Yes, Gary, don't wear a mankini too hot. You'll have to wear your cotton suit. Your safari suit or something. Waitrose says, staying opposite Graceland, so we'll make the pilgrimage.
Good man.
Make sure you wear a fake quiff as well. Tiff says, I've never been off mainland Britain. Oh, well. That's unfortunate. John says, Model Master is hard to get. She says, be right back, bathroom. And John says, deliverance. Exactly. Yes, sir. Don't whistle. That's really annoying on streams. It's very loud and ear piercing. I shall do the comments.
Then
Jim
I shall
says,
do the whistling.
Jim says Model Master paints have discontinued us after Testers was bought out a few years back. Paul says my son-in-law plays the banjo. He's quite good at it. Oh. Bob says furthest overseas for me is Anglesey. We went to Anglesey. I've been to Anglesey a few times.
So have I.
Have you?
Yeah.
Did you go to Pili Palace?
I went to Ross Niger.
Well, I've never been to me.
We went to Pili Palace on Anglesey when we were in school. It's a butterfly world thing. It's like they've got loads of greenhouses and stuff where they're growing all these different really rare and breeding really rare species of butterflies and everything. And you just walk around and they just land on you and things. And you can see them all.
I used to have to go to RAF Valley quite a lot.
Yes.
One thing we didn't do in the UK is all greenhouses and tropical sort of things, like because you can see palm trees, and well, I can look outside my window.
Yeah. John says, Tiff, I didn't leave America to visit Germany. Oh, I didn't leave America to visit Germany until a couple of years ago. Don't feel bad. I'm 52. There you go. Ian says, oh, Tiff, the worst bit is coming back to the shithole. Yeah. Bob says, used to do Doncaster, Anglesey, Exmouth, and back every weekend in the early 80s. Bloody hell. And Modest says...
You were based at Finningley.
And Modest says she's back. Oh, sorry, go on, Modest. TBG says, Waitrose will have to make important wardrobe choices in the South. He'll either get mistaken for Colonel Sanders or Elvis. I think it's more likely Colonel Sanders. As long as he doesn't get mistaken for a Confederate, he's all right. Tish says, I want to visit Egypt, but refuse to do it on my own. John says, Ian had a 7-hour flight with a screaming kid, no relief. We also were flying British Airways and had turbulence over Ireland. Said naturally to the flight attendant, and he laughed.
Yes.
Yeah. Joe says, Tiff, never been to Spain, but I kind of like the music. 3 Dog Night. There we go. I've always found it interesting seeing, look, the photos of the Great Pyramids and stuff. The photos are taken from the tourist angle, then it's the pyramids and just surrounded by desert. But if it's from the proper the other angle, it's just
Cairo,
Banky city, and then pyramids on the outskirts of the city, and then desert.
Yeah.
So it's always covered in bloody rubbish and everything.
Well.
Yeah. John says, Mama told me not to come home. TBG says, Tiff, it's okay. You'll have plenty of mummies there. How very droll. Bob says, RF Valley, then to Scampton.
I used to be based at Scampton.
They crashed there and all. Funny that, isn't it? Common connection and all that. GM says, very hot human here, rain up to 150 millimeters per day. That does not sound like fun. Paul says, reference Helen, my daughter, about UNICEF. She got a plaque from the Ukrainian government and letters of thanks from Mr. Zelensky. Ah,
Oh wow!
well done. Tiff says, another I'd love to visit is Mexico for Dia de los Muertos.
That's Day of the Dead, isn't it?
Yep. For she is a goth. John says, isn't there a pyramid scheming in Giza? Yes.
There's pharaohs at the bottom of my garden.
And his name is Tutankhamun. Joe says, that's great. Dia de los Muertos. Is big in South Texas too. Yes. So recovery efforts, apparently. Bob says, I was a Civi visitor, friend in the force, one of the Baldy brothers in Rad 5. Paul is doing a facepalm.
I was a runway controller at Scampton.
Again, keep crashing. Yeah. Gary left and they shut the base down. John says there's always a racket going on at Wimbledon. Paul thought it was a mummy. Very good. Bob says the king of Tottenham Corner when he visited London. Jim says, has a Scotsman ever won Wimbledon? I think
Andy Murray.
There we go. I wouldn't know. To me, it's just watching a ball go pop, pop, pop. It's like watching Pong. That's what it's like for me. It's like watching someone else play Pong. Ian says, I heard Day of the Dead wasn't a thing until they filmed the carnival for James Bond and locals loved it. Oh, I tell you what is coming out next month, Gary. August the 6th on Netflix. The new series Wednesday.
See, I haven't seen any of that.
You haven't seen Wednesday with Jenny Ortega?
Isn't it just basically the Addams Family?
No, well, kind of, but it's Wednesday in school. And Wednesday is played by Jenny Ortega.
Yeah, I know who plays her.
Yeah. But it's all about...
Good?
Yeah, I liked it.
She did a dance thing, doesn't it, that became a bit of a craze?
Well, she recreated the dance from the original Wednesday, didn't she? The original Addams Family TV series.
Mm-hmm.
GM says, my staff girls did a reunion live concert a few days ago. It shook down. Everything was soaking wet. I mean, everything. Yucky, yucky. John says, which James Bond? Who's the one, the Craig Daniels ones, wasn't it? Or whatever his bloody name is.
Daniel Craig.
That's it. This is how much I care about these things.
Well, it's like you're reading out a school attendance sheet.
Yeah. I mean, he is from Cheshire, which isn't far from me. Yeah. Paul says, Cleopatra said, not tonight. I have my pyramids.
Oh, dear.
Yeah. Wait Rose says, Wednesday is awesome. It is.
Oh, right. I might have to give that a watch then.
Yeah. Well, what you can do is watch the first series, and then by the time you finish watching the first series, the second series will be on in August.
Yeah.
There you go. How's that for planning ahead?
My wife was watching Bridgerton when I got in last night.
Ew. How very Waitrose of her.
So I immediately went straight on my tablet.
Did you? Which one? Pregabalin, diazepam, Ritalin.
Citalopram.
Bob says piranhas. John says, Paul, I have to ask the question.
Oh, blimey.
I think it was No Time to Die or something, wasn't it?
That's the last one. That's where they did the worst thing anybody could have done to any Bond film.
Made him cry.
Made him die.
Yeah.
I refused to watch it because of that.
I don't think I've seen that one.
I never will.
Yeah, I haven't. I think I don't know. I'll get around to it. I'm just not that much into the movies.
Gary, you do realise it's not real, right? It's just a film.
I don't care. You don't kill Bond.
Yeah, you can't kill Bond. It's impossible.
Crapulent.
Tiff says, I've started watching Station 19. Yeah, I prefer
That's very good.
Fire. Yeah. I did prefer Chicago Fire, though.
Chicago Fire is extremely good. Station 19 is a spin-off of Grey's Anatomy.
Yeah.
So very often they overlap.
Yeah.
But I would say at the moment the Chicago Fire, Med, and PD are my favourite.
Yeah.
I say they're my favourite. They're just below Special Victims Unit.
Yeah. Next. John says, would an Egyptian soap opera be Dynasty? Yeah. Paul says, John, please do. John says, laugh out loud, Paul. GM says, Bobby, what is the Strange Beast count now? I lost track after 15. Jim says, Burma, I panicked.
So again, another Monty Python reference.
Uh-huh. Jim says, could also be a Chinese soap opera. Yeah. John says, yes.
I had no bananas.
Bob says, GM, me too. I do know there is one more on the way.
Just when you thought it was safe.
Ian says, Quantum of Solace. That might be.
Oh, what a shite film that was. That was
Really?
one of the worst Bond films ever.
God, you're such a negative Nelly.
I didn't mind it. I've seen it once, but I don't think I've seen any of the Bond films more than
There's
once.
some much better Bond films than that. Tiff says, I've watched Grey's Anatomy and Chicago Fire is on my watch list. I do strongly recommend Chicago Fire. It is a very, very good series.
Yeah.
Grey's Anatomy speaks for itself.
The only character that annoys me in Chicago Fire is that what's his name? The lieutenant in it. Oh,
Severide?
No, the other one.
Oh, what, the older one?
Yeah, the one that
One with the hearing aids.
No. The blonde one that was in House.
Oh, Casey.
That's it. His girlfriend that becomes his wife in it. She is such a narcissistic bloody drama queen in it.
She talks highly of you.
I don't give a shiny shit.
No, I must admit, the Chicagos are that's Friday night viewing in our house.
Yeah.
Same order every week: Chicago Fire, followed by Chicago Med, followed by Chicago PD.
Yeah, I stopped watching it when they start putting it on things like iPlay or whatever it is. Apple thing. Bob says, sorry, just had a notification from eBay, +2 and a 10-pack of screw cutters. Oh, dear God.
I just got a vision of Bob sat in his man cave surrounded by boxes and boxes and boxes of
I'll tell you what, though.
mistakenly ordered.
Tell you what, though, with all these strand beasts, it'd be a bastard if he switched the fan on, wouldn't it? You'd think he was tripping. Just all these little creatures walking around the house.
Be like replicators from Stargate SG-1.
Yeah. Nanobots or something.
Yeah, that's them.
John says, when I was in London, I love Law and Order. You guys had the American one and a London one.
Yes, we had the only thing about the London one was the main character in it is actually a comedian called Bradley Walsh.
Oh, right, yeah.
He did do justice to the role, but I think with the Law and Orders, you've got to go back to the origins, the Dick Wolf ones.
Yeah.
In the US.
I think it's the same with NCIS, though, wasn't it?
NCIS,
the other ones were okay, but they weren't the original.
Yeah, the NCIS, when Gibbs left, I stopped watching.
Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, I've just started watching all of SVU from the beginning again.
Yeah.
I missed a chunk in the middle of about 5 seasons in the middle, because at one point I think Olivia Benson was a sergeant, and the next time I saw it, she was a captain. So I thought, I've missed something here.
Yeah. John says, saw it in Germany. Gary says, Bobby! Jim says, Bob, blimey, with all that inventory, you can open a hobby shop. Yeah.
Yeah, just get someone else to do the ordering.
Yeah. Yeah. GM says, do put it on. Do it. Put the fans on. Tiff says, NCIS was never the same after Abby left. I agree.
Actually, I quite like the girl that replaced Abby. I thought she did well in that.
John says, Munch was my favourite. I like the chemistry with Finn.
Yeah.
See, I liked Mouch in Chicago Fire. I thought he was good.
He is good. But actually, the character I really liked in Chicago Fire was Chief Bowden.
Yeah.
Who's actually British.
Yeah.
And started his career in the Alf Garnett show as Alf Garnett's gay carer.
And yet, in Chicago Fire, you couldn't get someone more butch.
I know. Very good actor.
Yeah. Gabby, that was it. Casey's missus. It was Gabby, wasn't it?
Oh, Monica Raymond.
Yeah.
I thought you meant the other girl, the one he married later on.
No.
Yeah.
That Gabby, her character was, I found her really annoying because she was just being everything about herself, didn't she?
Yeah. John Thompson says, sad to hear of Richard Belzer dying. Yeah, he was very good in Law and Order.
Ian says, I haven't watched a Bond movie from start to finish since Roger Moore and Timothy Dalton. The recent ones with Eva Green look good, though.
Yeah, Eva Green was in the Casino Royale, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Doesn't she end up being Bond's girlfriend and then she gets drowned?
Well, I wasn't going to give it away, but there you go.
Yeah. Which is why he ends up getting all upset and moody.
Yeah.
Because she was the only one he ever loved. Sad face.
Not true, but there you go.
Yeah. John says, Octopussy.
Yeah, no, I didn't like Octopussy that much.
Sounds like Austin Powers rather than.
Yeah. The Roger Moore, the best one, I think the Roger Moore one was For Your Eyes Only. My favourite Bonds are Connery and Brosnan. I think Timothy Dalton didn't get a fair crack of the whip, a fair run at it. He could have been a good one. Anyway.
Yeah. Gino says, I like Ducky and Ziva in NCIS. Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, David McCallum, what an actor. And Ziva David, yeah.
Yeah. Tiff says, I love Ducky. Sad to hear the actor passing away. I may watch the Tony Ziva spin-off.
That, if they can recreate the dynamic between the couple, that might be worth watching.
Yeah. Jem says, we film K-dramas here, all the big titles. I do not watch any Mr. Cho. Heads the department. We jokingly berate each other for poor choice in production media. Laugh out loud. Very good. Jim says, Timothy Dalton was one of my favourites as 007.
I think he had the potential to become very good as Bond.
I liked Brosnan because, but only because he had really cool gadgets and things. But when they brought in Daniel Craig, they decided to strip it right back again, didn't they? Because they decided it was getting a bit silly with all the gadgets.
But that was Bond, wasn't it? I mean,
yeah. John says, A View to a Kill was awesome. Roger Moore's last Bond. Grace Jones is beautiful. So was Tanya Roberts.
But the thing that made that film worth watching was the guy that played John Steed was in it.
I don't know. I don't remember the old ones.
From the Avengers. Can't remember,
I've watched them all. I just don't remember them.
Was it Patrick McNee? I think it was. And the Grace Jones thing never did it for me. But Tanya Roberts was extremely pretty. And she was very good in Sheena, Queen of the Jungle. Nothing to do with acting. Nothing to do with acting. Just running through the African wilderness in a loincloth and not a lot else.
John says, A View to Kills. Oh, just read that one. John says, The Living Daylights.
Yeah, that's a good film.
Jim says, best Roger Moore Bond films were the first two.
Yeah, you probably could. Diana Rigg was Mrs. Bond for a short while, very short while.
Yeah.
We have all the time in the world.
Kaboom. Paul says, picked up brilliant Buster Blood Vessel CD today.
Bloody hell, Buster Blood Vessel. Christ. I remember watching him doing the can on top of the pops. How that bloke could move like that, I do not know.
John says they kept the original Q.
Yeah. They did. He tragically died shortly after retiring in a car crash.
Yeah.
Desmond Llewellyn.
GM says, a packet of Tim Tams straight from the fridge. Yum, yum.
Oh, frozen.
Yeah.
Jim says, Daniel Craig, the man's version of Bond. Pierce Brosnan, the more feminine side of Bond.
See, I'd go Connery's the man's version of Bond.
I think Daniel Craig's the modern man version, isn't he? Whereas, because if you think about it, Sean Connery was only in his early 30s when he played Bond. And yet he looked like now what you'd think would be like a 40, 50-year-old man. Because he smoked so much and everything. Duke says, what movie did Jaws arrive?
The Spy Who Loved Me. Jaws arrived in The Spy Who Loved Me, which was...
I thought it was in Jaws 1.
Again, we're back to Pyramids again.
Yeah. John says 50th anniversary of Jaws too.
You're going to need a bigger boat.
Yeah. I shall do my railway sleepers in mahogany brown.
I'm just letting my
Even though they're made out of oak.
groundwork dry off, and then I shall be doing the sleepers next. And then when I've done the sleepers, I'll do the rails.
Yeah.
So, do you guys reckon that this is our second last week of this?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Why?
So.
Are you keen to get on with the next build?
I'm just, I'm running out of things to do. I've got decals to do. I stick the train onto the base and I'm done.
Yeah. I can't even remember what the next build is. Oh, yes, I can.
I can.
I can remember now.
It's just
John says Shaw was awesome in that monologue.
correct, Jim. Richard Keel was the name of the actor.
There we go. Gino says Sean Connery is one of my favorite actors. Yeah, he was good in
Go on,
The
Mikey.
Rock. I liked him in The Rock.
Yeah,
I thought it was great in
James Bond after retirement, wasn't it?
yeah.
Red
yeah.
October. I thought it was fantastic.
If you wanted to ask me of all time who my favourite actor was, I'd go with the Duke himself.
What, Harry?
No,
John Wayne.
Mr. Wayne.
I know, I'm joking. John says Guns of Navarone and Force 10 from Navarone were good movies. Was Shaw in Guns of Navarone? I know
Shaw
Peter
was. Go on.
He says I know Peter O'Toole was, I believe. Both, I believe.
Robert Shaw was in Force 10 from Navarone. Guns of Navarone was Gregory Peck, Anthony Quinn, and David Niven. I don't think Peter O'Toole was in any of the Navarones. Peter O'Toole was in Murphy's War, and obviously Lawrence of Arabia.
Benji,
excuse me while I kill a dog.
Great recall.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have remembered any of those actors in those roles.
No. Oh, there you go. Tiff says The Rock. That's one film I have actually watched, Mikey. My God.
Cripes.
Yeah. Paul says also in South Pacific. Yeah.
The reason I remember is because, as Marion would say, it's shit that I remember. All the important stuff I forget.
Oh, go back.
Duke says, I thought the guy would like Sean Connery as he blames himself.
His shelf.
Yeah.
Well done.
Very clever.
Jim says, John Thompson. Shaw's first attempt at the monologue was a failure. He showed up drunk, got it right the second time after apologising to all on set.
Yes.
There you go.
There you go.
And of course, Robert Shaw's opening, or first proper film that he got famous for was the second James Bond film,
There we go.
which I forget. From Russia with Love.
Bob says Sean Connery on the fiddle with Bill Owen, Compo, and Babs Windsor. What a mix.
Never seen that. Anthony Quayle, correct. Was in the Guns of Navarone. He was also in Battle of the River Plate.
Rio de la Plata.
And he was the spy in Ice Cold and Alex.
Ah.
Okay, I've never seen Ice Cold and Alex, and I don't know how to watch it because it's not available on any streaming service that I could find. And it's just not available in say, JB Hi-Fi. I can't see it on DVD or whatever.
It's on YouTube.
It's on YouTube. Oh, the whole movie?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bloody hell. All right, guess what I'm doing.
Most World War II films are on there.
Oh, right.
Most of the old ones. Jim says, Anthony Quayle. Oh, we've read that one. On to the next one. John says, I also love Clint Eastwood and Kelly's Heroes and Where Eagles Die. Yeah.
I can't it always makes me smile when you talk of Clint Eastwood in It Where Eagles Dare, with that scene in the castle where he kills half the Wehrmacht with one machine pistol.
Yeah. I like The Eagle Has Landed. That's a good film.
Yeah, it's not bad. Gary Markham says, I found the Edward kit, Hawker Tempest 2 throttle quadrant, an excellent guide with scratch building a new one for the Airfix Sea Fury. Hawker did use common parts across their aircraft.
That makes sense. There you go.
Yeah. John says
Tempest
Shaw
2 is a lovely build.
Shaw was an RAF veteran.
Yeah, he was.
A lot of the actors back then were either Air Force or Army, weren't they? During the war.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he says, I think, therefore I am.
Yeah.
Bob says Shaw in Battle of Britain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Paul
was.
Yeah. Paul says, Daff is crook. See you later, mes amis.
All right, Paul.
Okay.
Hope you've seen better soon.
Yeah. Waitrose says Anthony Quayle was ice cold in Alex. Anthony Quinn was Guns of Navarone.
Both the Antonys were in Guns of Navarone because Anthony Quayle was the one who got injured climbing the rock face, and in the end they had to leave him behind.
Yeah. Well, there's a thing. John says Sir Christopher Lee was amazing. He was SAS.
Yes, and he did a lot of things during the Second World War that he never spoke about.
I did see a clip on YouTube recently. It seems that Christopher Lee had a role in, I think it was Heydrich's assassination in Czechoslovakia.
Yeah.
That is, he rocked up there to do a film, and at the airport, everybody was cheering. You know, he was with the director, and the director said, "Oh, so everyone's come out to see me. It's wonderful." And he said, "No, they're here for me." Oh, yeah, but have they seen many of your films? No, it's not about movies. But he didn't go into that more. But I think, absolutely correct. I think he did some things that.
David Niven was in the SAS as well in the Second World War.
Was he?
Yes, he was.
There you go.
And now we've got the likes of Ant Middleton and Phil Campion.
Big Phil, don't you mess with Big Phil.
You've seen the amount of weight he's lost doing all that training.
He's a unit. He is.
He's a beast.
Waitrose says, "Well remembered, Gary. I forgot him."
Well, just ignore the fact that me and Gary are having a conversation, won't you?
Yeah, that's right.
Australian bastard.
Oh, yeah. Gino says, Donald Sutherland I liked as well. Yeah, he's funny.
Yeah, he always played the oddball character, no pun intended, because I know he played oddball in, but he always played the slightly wacky character, didn't he? I mean, even in, what was it? The one you mentioned, Mikey. The Eagle Has Landed.
Oh, yeah.
In The Eagle Has Landed, he played the spy, didn't he? But he was a bit strange even in that.
Yeah. Well, look at him in The Mechanic. Even in that, he was a little bit odd, wasn't he? He was the wheelchair-bound sort of boss.
I don't think I've seen them. Don't think I've seen The Mechanic.
Good set of films. Jason Statham plays an assassin. A hitman.
Yeah, the Megalodon.
Yeah. Gino says Donald Sutherland I liked as well. Yeah. Did you guys laugh at Goliath Awaits? I can't remember.
I don't know about that. Look up Hercules Returns, though. You'll love it.
John says Christopher Lee was in that as well.
Yes.
Film Boat Seat. Live and Let
Joe
Die.
says he lives several miles away from where they filmed the boat scenes in Live and Let Die, where we first met the sheriff, wasn't it? What was his name?
Joe.
No, he turned up in Man with the Golden Gun as well. The guy that played the sheriff, because what was his name? Sheriff. I'm trying not to get him confused with the sheriff from Smokey and the Bandit.
Sheriff Bob.
They were very, very similar characters.
There's Cuda from that American thing. Bloody the General Lee. What's that?
Oh, Dukes of Hazzard.
Yeah,
Roscoe D. Coltrane.
that one.
And Daisy Duke.
Told you, dirty old man. Right. Jim says, wait, Rose.
Wait, Rose?
Modders, wake up. Thank you. Jim says, wait, Rose, both Anthony Hughes were in the Guns of Navarone.
Absolutely. I could give you the script from start to finish of that.
Bob says, Sutherland in Buffy, the film, not the series.
Huh.
John says, Goliath Awaits was filmed on the Queen Mary.
Oh. Yeah, the old Southern Sheriff. That was it, Joe.
There you go. Jim says, not so well-known film is The Mechanic, 1972. Charles Bronson as a former professional hitman. Very good.
I remember that. That's a great movie.
Jim, the Italians did a movie on the Guns of Navarone, the Guns of Maroon. So it'd be cool if they'd done a similar film thing, but with...
That's it. No, was it Buford? No, Buford T. Justice is in... Sorry, Mikey.
right, go on.
Smokey and the Bandit, and they... Buford.
I don't know.
Because his son's an idiot, and at one point in the first one, he says, "When I get home, I'm gonna kick your mama in the ass, because there ain't no way you came from my loins."
Waitrose says, Sheriff J.W. Pepper.
J.W. Pepper. Well done, Gary.
John says Bronson was great in Raid on Entebbe and The Dirty Dozen. Yeah.
Raid on Entebbe was a very good film. Very good film.
Joe says, yes, J.W. Pepper.
That's it. J.W. Pepper.
Yeah. Jim says Buford T. Justice was played by the great Jackie Gleason.
That's it, Jackie Gleason.
And Jim says, sorry, go on, Gary.
And when they did a benefit for Burt Reynolds, one of these benefit shows for him, he turned up as Buford T. Justice and gave Burt Reynolds quite a roasting.
GM says all-time favorite. It's Mad, 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 Mad World. So there,
100%.
Is Phil Silvers in that?
I don't know who that is.
He's an actor.
Rat Race, a remake of that, is just as good. I think it's fantastic.
Didn't he play Sergeant Bilko?
Yeah,
and he was in the Carry On.
He was Carry On full of that camel.
Yeah. Mustafa Leak. Gino says, I like the old movies more because the actors were better and more character. Yeah, screenwriting was better as well. It wasn't just cut and paste from changing the names. John says George Clooney is Jackie Gleason's grandson.
Well, I never knew that.
Yeah. Now you do. Jem says, yeah. Oops. Too much paint there.
We'll have to do wood.
Joe says, supposedly Gleason was drunk throughout the filming.
He was known to partake.
Gino says, now the movies are much more special effects that make the films instead the actors. Yeah.
Yeah. And all green screened as well.
Yeah, see, I don't mind special effects and stuff, but I prefer better screenwriting like the old days. I think if you combined like some of the old films with modern special effects and stuff, I think that'd be awesome. Gino's, oh yeah, just read that. Jim says, Gary, yes, Gary, Phil Silvers, and many others greats of the day, including Terry Thomas.
Terry Thomas, now, he died in poverty. It was such a sad ending. Yeah.
Was it not a nice place then?
Such a sad ending. What an actor.
Yeah. Gino says, indeed, Mikey. Oh, bloody hell. John says, you were talking about Timothy Dalton before. First saw him in Flash Gordon. Dalton was RAF and Sam Jones was a US Marine. Yeah. LWM Modelling says, just got back from Lidl, only went in for a tin of beans and came out with half of Airfix's range.
It happens.
Yeah.
It happens.
Ian says, the only Charles Bronson film I've seen is Once Upon a Time in the West. He was in The Great Escape as well, wasn't
Have you never seen The Great Escape?
I was say, I'm sure I remember him in that.
He was Danny, the tunnel builder.
Yeah, the claustrophobic tunnel builder.
Yeah.
And he was in Dirty Dozen.
He was.
Ian says, the only Charles Bronson film I've seen is Once Upon a Time in the West.
Again.
Yeah.
And Jim says, George Clooney is the son of the late singer-actor Rosemary Clooney. I knew that.
Yeah.
Bob says, J.W. Pepper was played by Clifton James. That's correct. He was. And Bob now says, oh, I must go to Lidl.
So he can buy all of Airfix's range.
Joe Leal says, J.W. Pepper, secret agent on whose side? Yeah.
All right. Well, I think I've got terrible silvering on the tender. I was a bit, I did the serial on the sides of the locomotive, and they went down rather well. But I don't love me tender anymore.
See what you did there.
Thank you very much.
Cheeseburger.
Put more Deckle solution on it, it'll be fine.
Yeah. All right, that's probably all I'm going to be doing on this stream. It's just those couple of decals. I got what? Oh.
John Thompson says there was Von Ryan's Express, Frank Sinatra. That's right. Was Richard Dawson in The Great Escape or Hogan's Heroes? I think he was in Hogan's Heroes. Don't think he was in The Great Escape.
Again.
If I'm right, Richard Dawson played the RAF pilot in Hogan's Heroes. If I'm right, I could be wrong.
There's always a chance. An outside chance, but a chance.
The only bit of the film and Von Ryan's Express that I liked was right at the beginning when Sinatra was in a P-38. The rest of it I didn't enjoy, really.
Yeah. Next. Joe says locomotive looks great, John.
Oh,
It does.
Kind. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
And Gary says, Bobby, you and LWN on a secret mission? And Jim says Bronson was born. Charles Buczynski was an airman in the 20th Air Force based in the Marianas during 1944 and 45. He flew B-29 missions over Japan. Kudos.
Yeah.
Dawson was Royal Merchant Marine. Ah, right. Okay. Ian says, look at the time. What the fuck? Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
When did that happen? Wow.
Right.
Where did that time go?
So that, yeah, as I said, that's all I'm doing on this stream. As you say, I've painted the tracks up. I'm quite happy with the way they've come out. So hit that with a bit of matte. And I think I'll go silver over the top to chrome because, wearing of the actual thing. But that didn't look so bad. And that. They're looking.
It looks all right, buddy.
Looks all right. Looks okay. But I'm literally running out of things to do. Like, I can mount that on the track now and call it done. But I don't think I can do another 2 hours on it. Just a bit of wash,
Well,
But
maybe you should do less off stream then. So that
I did
way,
nothing of this off stream.
So are we saying you want to go to the next build next week? Because
No,
we
you're
can.
not done yet. You're not finished.
I can finish this off stream.
Well, what we could do is finish it or do as much as possible off stream, and then next week just show them off, or just do the decaling next week.
But John's done all that.
No.
Yeah,
I've got
Potter can
I've got
even do
all
the chat.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I've got, I think, 11 decals left, little tiny ones.
Yeah. Because John
It'll
could
take
do the
me-
chat, couldn't he?
I
He's
could
not
do
got
that.
nothing to do.
Yeah, let's do one more week of this, and then
Yeah.
even if it's an hour stream or whatever, we can just talk banter for the other hour. It'll be fine.
Yeah, that's fine by me. Cool. Right. I've been painting lane track. So
Yeah.
switch back over.
Likewise.
Oh, that's looking good. Yeah.
So and I brush painted all that. So with my
I'm brush painting.
I'm not really impressed with it. Really impressed with it. So what I'm going to do, Vallejo Model Air, US Earth.
Ah, right.
I'm not sure whether I'm going to do the tracks with Vallejo Model Air wood because it looks a bit
like I've used Vallejo model color mahogany brown.
Yeah, to be honest, the dark earth looks all right. And then I've got the model color oily steel.
Yeah.
For the track itself.
Yeah. The ballast looks a bit crap on it, like, but
Well, you're not going to see most of it with a bloody great big
no.
12-inch
I'm gonna have to
monster
cut some
flop
wood.
sat on top of it.
Well, what I'm going to do is cut a length of wood to screw the track onto, and put some grass around it and stuff at some point.
Okay.
Otherwise, it'll just topple over and things.
I was going to glue mine to the track because it's not going to.
Yeah.
No, I mean the whole thing will
wheels aren't going
topple
to
over.
turn anyway.
The whole thing can topple over, can't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
But
only
if I glue it to the
longer.
track, it'll be easier to place the whole thing in the bin.
I was just going to say.
Tim Victor's daughter's name is real name is Colin M. John says, I enjoyed today with you guys. Have a great day. Cheers, John.
Thanks, John. Always
John,
good.
we enjoyed being with you as well, my friend.
Yeah, so it looks good. Bob says, Dawson, Neat M, also in Devil's Brigade and Longest Day. There we go.
Good film.
Yeah.
It is remarkable how every stream we do has a different main topic of discussion, and we don't plan any of it. It just runs that way, and it's actually very interesting. We have a lot of viewers and a lot of people that tune in that know a lot of stuff, and it's always good to like. I was very quiet during the stream because I don't know James Bond.
No, you weren't.
Oh.
You were whistling.
Oh, not all the time.
Yeah.
So
Right.
tomorrow,
Sea Fury.
we're back
Fury,
on another model that John has steamed ahead on.
Yes.
Well, no, all I did off stream for that is give it a gloss coat.
I've got to tidy up.
paint.
I got to tidy up some of the paint lines on mine where it seeped through the masking tape. And then put clear coat on it, but other than that, it should be all right.
Tomorrow, I may be
Spraying.
you're
Having a
expecting
seizure.
an old Goldfinger.
And on that note, who'll vow, everyone?
Stand by for crappy outro.
Modders, cut sound, quick!